representing 4 countries are expected to spend 6 months at the International Space Station. A NASA astronaut is leading the crew, which includes a Japanese surgeon and Danish and Russian engineers. John Scott reporting.
The devastating fires in Hawaii will take a bite out of the state's tourism industry for several months. Jonathan Williams with the American Legislative Exchange Council says that provides a chance for the state's Democrat-run government to reconsider some of its long-standing policies that already were making Hawaii one of the poorest states in the entire country. This is SRN News.
WTBN Pinellas Park, WTWD Plant City, WLCC Brandon.
Faith Talk Tampa. Download the Faith Talk Tampa app or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
The Biden administration officials are approving some new language. Michael Harrington has a report.
The Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services has visited a so-called gender clinic in Alaska and praised its efforts to replace the word mother with, quote, egg producer. Rachel Levine, a man who is living as a woman, says Identity Alaska is doing good work with its biology curriculum, which appears to contain very little actual biology. The classes teach small children that at birth a doctor assigns the sex of a newborn based on his, quote, best guess. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
The federal judge is delaying his order that lawyers for Southwest Airlines submit to religious liberty training. U.S. District Judge Brantley Starr says he will delay the training and other contempt penalties for 30 days while Southwest appeals to a higher court. The judge is seeking to punish Southwest for disregarding a previous order. It's happening in a case involving a flight attendant who says she was fired for expressing opposition to abortion. This is SRN News. Federal officials are warning airlines to keep workers away from jet engines that are still running.
Citing recent incidents, at least one of them fatal, federal officials are warning airlines to make sure that workers keep their distance from jet engines until they're powered off. The Federal Aviation Administration says it issued a safety alert to prevent workers from being injured while towing planes or guiding them to and from terminal gates. The FAA said airlines should review their safety programs to make sure they follow practices including keeping workers clear of planes until they are stopped and chocks are placed under the wheels. Norman Hall, Washington.
U.S. Air Defense scrambled fighter jets on Friday to wave off a civilian aircraft that had entered temporarily restricted airspace near Lake Tahoe. That's where President Joe Biden and his wife are vacationing. The crews of two F-16 fired flares to catch the attention of the pilot of the civilian aircraft. More details at srnnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we are live with you for the next hour to answer all of your legal questions. Give us a call now. Open studio lines 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call. You can shoot us an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. You're also welcome to submit your question directly through the website. That is attorneypatricksmith.com. That's also your one-stop shop for all things Attorney Patrick Smith related. Office locations, bio, tons of information there, and all the podcast versions of prior radio shows. If you want to go back and listen to a prior broadcast that you particularly enjoyed or needed to review some detail in more refined and at your own pace speed, you can do so by going to attorneypatricksmith.com, clicking on the radio link, and all of our prior shows are broadcast for your easy access and convenient listening. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. So if you have a legal question, for those of you new to the program, I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, local Central Florida attorney, offices throughout the state, including Sarasota, Sun City Center, Clearwater, and we will give out the office line later in the show for those of you looking to book an appointment. But right now, we're giving out the studio line. So if you have a legal question, we do this show every week where you call in and you and the rest of the listening audience get the benefit of me answering your legal question live on the air. Our community service to you. So give us a call now. Open studio lines. Brian, the call screener, standing by to screen your calls. 877-943-9673. 943-9673. And the usual cast of characters here, in addition to Brian, the call screener, Yumiko, the producer, Peter, the intern, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. I don't know, for those of you, we have lots of stations that pick up the show, but we have one particular feed. Yumiko, which station is that in my ear right as we come onto the air that's doing the top of the hour news? Is that 860 or is that 57?
That's the 860.
860. So the 860 top of the hour news, they were doing an FAA report that said the FAA issued a new regulation that was going to require people to stay away from moving jet engines. Did I hear that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
You just figure, how is that not already the rule? They do allow them to get, in other news, stay away from hot stovetops and moving traffic. Like, you just figure that's one of those common sense items. You didn't figure they had to pass a new law regarding staying away from a moving jet engine, but goodness gracious. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. Open studio lines, 877-943-9673. So today I thought I would kick off with a top 10 list, of the most helpful things you can do for your loved ones after your passing. So these are a list of things that you can do ahead of time that will assist your loved ones when it comes to aiding them with those immediate days after your passing. You know, some family lose loved ones suddenly and it's unexpected. Other families, lose a loved one with a battle, with a medical illness over years. So you think you've expected it coming, but nevertheless, when that weight of losing a loved one actually falls on you, it just feels different than you ever expected. And a lot of you have gone through it, and some of you have never really gone through, the significant loss of a loved one, but that day is coming. So, and one day you'll be that person that passes. So these are little things that you can do that will assist your family with your passing and make it a little easier for them. So number 10 on the list is make sure you don't carry an inordinate amount of debt. In observing a lot of post-mortem work and administrative work when loved ones pass, having a lot of debt produces some significant challenges for the family. Most notably, it just produces a delay in having to deal with the debts. And a lot of times if they're doing a probate, they've got to publish a notice to creditors and then try to attempt to settle the validly filed creditor claims. And it's a lot different when you compare it to an estate where there's, no or little debt at all. And I think it's a matter of just making sure you're kind of fiscally responsible to the extent that you can. I'm not saying don't have any debt. I think that, a lot of people out there, you listen to your financial advisors. That's what they're out there for, is to give you advice on things like that. But just number one, being cognizant as you get older in life, especially, of not taking on massive amounts of debt. So I think that's a good starting point, number 10 on the list. And if you have a comment on that, 877-943-9673, doing our top 10 list of the most helpful things that you can do for loved ones after you pass. And again, that number to call in with your legal question or to comment on our top 10 list, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Number 9 on the list. And Peter, the intern, I'm going to get your thoughts on this one. Your time with the practice and observing post-mortem administrative work, the probates and the trust administrations. When a fight breaks out, what is it usually regarding?
Who's going to be in charge, or if someone's getting more?
If someone's getting more what?
Money, assets, property.
Yeah. Right. Number 9 on our list, take time to specifically devise personal property that's significant to the family. You would be surprised how many disputes break out over who gets mom's diamond ring or who gets the family Bible, things like that. So taking the time, and there's a statute, 732-515, that allows you to craft this list with an item, to whom it goes, and their address. And you can change and adjust this as life goes on. But if you take the time to bequest these sort of high priority items for the family, it goes a long way when the family's grieving and tensions are running high. It can ameliorate a lot of that potential trauma regarding who gets those particular items. So number 9 on the list, taking time to devise significant personal property. And it doesn't have to be a Matisse or a Rothko. It can be something that's just important to you and your family. So if it's say it's an heirloom firearm that was from the Civil War or something like that, something that's important to you, take the time to bequest that to the appropriate party to avoid any unnecessary conflict. Number 9 on the list, take time to devise specific, significant personal property. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now with your legal questions as we count down the top 10 things you can do to help your loved ones after you've passed. All right, we're going to go to our first caller of the day, and we're going to go to Newport Richie and talk to Zinni. Zinni, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, good morning, Patrick. It's Frank. Sorry, it's Vinny. How are you?
Oh, Vinny. Okay, Vinny with a V. That makes more sense.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Vinny. How's Pasco County?
Oh, it's nice and warm. Hey, my question is around, I guess the difference between the state, between a specific state in the country and federal law. Because I guess the problem I'm having, Patrick, is when I look at Federal Register, volume 82, number 12, on January 19th, 2017, it really confuses me as about what was supposed to happen on January 20th, 2020. And the whole thing is about human subject research, which really confused me.
All right, so cite your source one more time. I'm going to have Peter, the intern, on the fly here, see if he can pull that particular volume up. So you said Federal Registry, volume 2.
On January 19th, 2017, the Federal Register, volume 82, number 12, revised human subject research to apply with cooperative research by January 20th, 2020. There's a musician named Frank Bones who sings about this. And I'm just curious what you thought about it from a legal perspective.
First time I'm hearing about it. So, Vinny, the short answer is I don't know. That's why I'm trying to have Peter do the research on the fly. So let's pretend you're the intern doing the show prep. Vinny, give me the 30-second rundown on the bullet points about this. So besides it being part of a popular singer-songwriter's performance.
Yeah, Frank Bones writes, references it in some of his songs, but ideally, it seems like on January 19th, 2017, which was the last day of the Obama-Biden presidency, the Federal Register has a revision to the common rule, which is around human subject research. Specifically, cooperative research seems to comply with the changes by January 20th, 2020. And I think that was the first day COVID was confirmed in the country.
So I feel like, Vinny, and don't let me put words in your mouth, I feel like you're trying to connect this as a conspiracy theory, connecting this federal regulation to the pandemic. Am I right on that?
Yeah, well, I don't know much about conspiracies. It just seems like an odd coincidence for human subject research to be changed the day before a president leaves office, and the same date listed as cooperative research being compliant is the same day that a virus was confirmed for the first time in our country. That coincidence, conspiracy, they're interchangeable, I guess. But I just wanted to see from like a legal perspective how that fits with anybody.
Vinny, I have no idea is the short answer, but are you a Taylor Swift fan by chance?
I do love her very much.
Okay, so one of the things that periodically gets played in my house are these Taylor Swift videos. I don't know if you've seen these videos, but first of all, Taylor Swift's fans are the stuff of legend. This woman inspires such loyal fans, but sometimes there's theories out there about, and it feels this kind of feels a little bit like one of those Taylor Swift theories about, she did this, or it's been 122 days exactly, or it's the 13th show. Like, sometimes there is no conspiracy, but you're looking hard and you can find conspiracy where there is none. This feels a little bit like that. But Vinny, I'm curious. So I'm going to turn the interns loose researching this in a little more detail, and we'll do a follow-up piece on it, Vinny, if we find something that's worth reporting, because it sounds interesting enough to get us to look into it, Vinny. But it's a great question. Now it says you called to discuss estate planning in multiple states. How is this connected to researching on humans?
Well, I think across multiple states, if I can mention Taylor Swift, I think she has the fountain of life in her, and I need it. But hey, Patrick, thanks so much for taking the question. I'd love to hear what the team thinks about later, or any listeners That song by Frank Bones really seemed to speak about this coincidence. And I hope you enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much, sir.
Vinny, thanks for calling in. Definitely a unique call, Vinny. Have a great Saturday, okay? 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now with your legal question, your conspiracy theory, or your comment on our top 10 list of things you can do to be helpful for your family when a loved one passes away. Before I go to Peter the intern with what he found on that working theory from Vinny and Newport Richie. Number 8 on the list, and Peter the intern, I know you can speak to this one. The number 8 item that you can do to help your family with your passing: declutter. Peter, how many homes have we gone into? On average, if we went into 10 homes after someone passed away, how many of them would you say could use a good decluttering?
9.
Yeah, and that's probably about right. It is one of those things where, and I had a family member who was just extremely conscientious about this. And as they got older in age, they started cleaning things out, getting rid of things. And their logic was this: I don't want the family to have to deal with it when I'm gone. And that's definitely the outlier in this. My experience has been, sort of what Peter was intimating there. It's definitely people tend to hold on to things, and it becomes a lot to clean out. Now, not all of it's an episode of Hoarders, but a lot of times there's just so much stuff. And so I think as you get, on in years, I think, decluttering, I'm not saying live like a Spartan, but, decluttering a lot of your life and organizing can definitely go a long way in helping your family with your passing. Because there was a video we saw online about, that day when the kids have to show up at mom and dad's house with a moving truck, roll the back door of the truck up and loaded everything up because mom and dad aren't there. That's a tough day. And that's a lot of trauma. So having that day go quicker as opposed to, a day that turns into a week of moving stuff out, or having to hire, a dumpster to get everything unloaded, or a professional moving company. I think making that process more expeditious for the family can go a long way with their healing process as they go through the trauma of losing a loved one. So number 8 on the list, decluttering can help your family when you've passed away. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Call in with your legal question now while we go down our top 10 list of items and things that you can do to help your family when you've passed away. Peter the intern, did you find anything on Vinny's call?
So the only thing I found has to do with cancer research, and I can read what it says in the little.
All right. From what
snippet.
source are you reading?
AACRjournals.org.
Okay, this sounds reputable enough. Go ahead.
And it says mitochondrial calcium uniporter drives metastasis and confers a targetable crystine dependency in pancreatic cancer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I have no idea what that means. I'm assuming 99.5% of the people listening in this world also don't know what that means. So,
all right. So, Vinny, what that means is stay tuned. It's going to take a little more time than doing the on-the-fly research. So, Peter, tear into that this week with the rest of the interns. Maybe we can do a follow-up piece next week for Vinny. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. I'm your local Central Florida attorney, Patrick Smith, and we are here to answer all of your legal questions today. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now or email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Number 7 on our list of items that you can do to be helpful to your family with your passing: get with your financial advisor and consider whether or not you have enough life insurance. Because I've never had a family come in and say, wow, we just have too much money with the passing of the loved one. It's quite often the opposite. And life insurance can go a long way with assisting the family with unexpected expenses. And going back to number 10 on the list, dealing with those debts if sometimes there's more debt than you realized. And it can also assist a lot with, just band-aiding the gap while everything's being administered, meeting mortgage payments on properties while the property is being listed, or taxes or HOA fees. The life insurance can go a long way. So you want to get with your qualified financial advisor regarding whether or not you have enough life insurance and what type of life insurance you should have. You should sit down, consult with your financial advisor, and make sure that your family is adequately protected for your passing. Number 7 on the list, make sure you have adequate life insurance. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. For those of you who want to reach me at the office during the week, the office line, 877-754-6764. Again, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. That's your toll-free line to schedule your complimentary consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, in the Sarasota location, Sun City Center, Clearwater, any of our office locations. We are more than happy to give you a complimentary estate plan so that you can come in. We can kind of go over the top 10 list with you in person, go over any existing estate planning documents you have. We do have complimentary reviews, by the way, for those of you who have existing estate planning documents. And for our clients, especially, if it's been more than 3 years, we always recommend about every 3 years or so coming in for a complimentary review of the file, kind of going over the family, the finances, the documents, and making sure everything is still accurate and up to date. So make sure you get that review done. You know, the biggest mistake in estate planning is people don't do it, but a close second on that list is people don't update what they've done. And we had a big week this week of a lot of people coming in just to sort of tweak existing plans for one reason or another. And that's the sort of extra effort that we really applaud at the law office, because it's maintaining that optimization you had the day you created the plan by staying on top of those developments in your life and finances and the laws. So you want to make sure you periodically review that. So if you'd like to set up that consultation with me, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764, or email me directly, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. By the way, that's also the number you can use to book us for your seminars, clubs, groups, organizations that need a speaker. We are available free of charge. I was looking at the calendar. I know I have a big one coming up in Claremont in September. We'll announce that one a little more with details as we get closer. But if you have a club, group, organization that needs a speaker on estate planning or any other topic, we're available absolutely free of charge. And again, you can call the office line to schedule that, 877-754-6764. On to our number 6 item on the list of top 10 things that you can do to help your family. Open a safe deposit box. Now, Peter the intern, there's more to this one. It's not just open the safe deposit box and establish it. What do you think the second part of this one that has to do with safe deposit boxes says, if you were guessing? Because you haven't seen the list. Peter the intern has not seen the top 10 list.
Either make sure your successor trustee has a key to the safe deposit box, and make sure that documents are actually in the safe deposit box.
Put your estate administrator's name on the box. Also, though, tell them about the box. That's right. You want to make sure they know where it is and how to get to it, so that when you pass, they don't have any delay in getting the documents and preserving them. And their name being on the box can avoid having to go get what can seemingly be an unnecessary court order to gain access to that box. So just streamlining the process for them. So 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help any way that we can. 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now. You can email me directly, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Continuing on with our list, number 5, plan your funeral, burial, or cremation. Peter the intern, have you planned your funeral yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you going to be buried or cremated? Have you had this conversation with London?
I want to be cremated,
And she wants the same?
I guess.
Okay. The family, because again, this is a source of contention often in family situations where it's not made clear. Some of the family may want burial or cremation. So if you pre-plan, or I'm not always necessarily saying you need to prepay for it, because I think people change their minds about certain details a lot. I think you pre-plan. So you let the family know, hey, here's who I want you to contact when I pass away. And sometimes it's a list of who I don't want you to contact before, after they pass away. So, all right. Thank you for the note. I appreciate that. Brian, the call screener, playing double duty. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, that's fine. So you want to make sure that you've told the family that you have these plans and that you want these particular things done, especially if you're military. If you're a former veteran, do you want military services? If you're a Freemason, do you want Masonic funeral? If you're, wanting to be buried at one of the national cemeteries, the more details you give them, the better. And I think it removes a big point of possible contention with the family. So plan your funeral, burial, cremation. Right now, I probably lean toward mausoleum. Just a mausoleum. I think it sounds nice. So, number 4, write a letter containing final messages. Now, this is a great one. And I strongly recommend when you write this letter to your family, do it entirely in your handwriting. I know it can be a kind of an extra task, handwriting, as opposed to typing it out. But trust me, it's worth the effort. It carries a lot more weight with the family when you're gone. And you can say, kind of final see you laters or any messages. It doesn't have to be some, grandiose letter. It can be brief, but, some sort of message from you when you've passed will go a long way with your family. So I encourage you, number 4 on our top 10 list of things to do to help your loved ones after your passing, write a letter containing your final messages. Sometimes these are, just best wishes you have, kind of goals and inspirations you want to pass along. Sometimes just speaking faith into family members. So take the time to write that list. 877-943-9673. So that is your number to call in with your legal question today. 877-943-9673. Or you can email us directly, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. But again, that toll-free number to be part of the show, 877-943-9673. All right, wrapping up our list, we're down to the top 3. Number 3, recommend a grief counselor to your family and seek family counseling yourselves if you're battling an illness. Now, this one goes unaddressed constantly. People refuse to recognize the trauma they're experiencing, either with a loved one's medical illness battle or with the passing of a loved one. And that unprocessed trauma can produce a lot of negative consequences based on just my observational role as an estate planning attorney. So I think that you leaving a message to your loved one saying, hey, here are a couple of grief counselors. It's better to talk about these things. And I will tell you, there is something healing and magical almost about just getting the emotion out. And a lot of times you can unload that on family, but they're grieving too. So maybe they don't need the weight. So getting a licensed mental health professional to listen to you, even if it's just 1 or 2 sessions. And like I tell some people who are more resistant to the idea, I say, look, if you do it, is it really going to make anything worse? I mean, you really have nothing to lose there. And a lot of people say, just 1 or 2 sessions, and I felt lighter is the word they use to describe it. And it helps you sort of process through the trauma and realize the loss you've experienced, especially if it's, you lost that first spouse 50, 60, sometimes 70 years. And that's like losing both arms and both legs. I mean, I've been married 20 years, just over 20 years. And I would be apoplectic without my wife, Christy. And so, I mean, people who have lost their best friends of over 5 decades, that is a trauma that, few will experience. And it needs to be addressed. So I think if you write that letter to your family, you can definitely express your wishes. And it makes it seem more inviting. And a lot of people feel like for some reason it's a problem to go see a mental health professional. There's a stigma to it. So I think if you extend this as a recommendation to your family with your passing, it may take away some of that stigma in their mind and say, well, they're recommending it. We're going to honor their wishes and go. And then you're better for it and the family's better for it, having processed through that trauma. So number 3 on our list of top 10 items that you can do to help your family with your passing, recommend a grief counselor. And a lot of times they start the counseling early. If the family's dealing with the medical battle together, say they're battling cancer or some other terrible disease, they'll start family counseling then and just sort of process through kind of what the family is going through with that trauma of that tough medical battle. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. Before we do the top 2 items on our top 10 list, let's go first to Riverview, and we're going to talk to Amy. Amy, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
My ex-husband recently passed away, and we became really good friends in the last year. And it was a sudden thing, but he'd always told me I was his beneficiary. So I did, fill out the paperwork for that. In the meantime, though, some friends are trying to get, trying to get his estate, and because he doesn't have any family or anything. And I had a friend tell me, well, if you're the beneficiary, why don't you try to, try to see, if you can get, something from his estate. And I didn't know if that had more clout because I was his beneficiary. But some of his friends, he's known for like 30 years, but he knew that they had a lot of money, and I'm sure that's probably why he made me. So I just don't know if that's even logical to try. I mean, they said that there were some relatives, but he was adopted, and he was adopted out of that family, and those people don't really even know him. So that's why I guess they're trying to contest it. So I don't know. Do I even have a chance, or even should I even try, or am I just going to make somebody mad by, trying to petition for his estate?
Amy, I'm sorry about the loss of your ex-husband. Your question's like a law school fact pattern. There's a lot of moving parts there. So just to go back, number one, do you currently have an attorney representing you, Amy?
No, well, I did talk to some free legal help, and I could have, pushed it further, but since, I just didn't.
So you have not retained counsel, just to be clear. I want to make sure I don't step on any toes by answering your question.
I do not have a lawyer.
Did your ex-husband leave a will or a trust or some sort of testamentary vehicle?
No,
All right.
will.
So it's going to go to his heirs at law, but his heirs at law are going to be interesting here because, as you stated, he was adopted, and when someone's
out of that family,
right? So that
they had to find it.
So
where where his family was and all that.
So that
and they're like, too, I didn't know I had a brother. I don't know that guy. You know what I'm saying? When they did contact them, they were like,
well, the adoption would certainly affect the inheritance rights under intestacy. So here's the short version, Amy. You need to sit down with a good estate planning attorney and have a consultation about who are the heirs at law. So in the absence of an estate plan by your late ex-husband, there's going to be a set of beneficiaries, and it's typically a bloodline connection. However, what the interesting thing here is it's going to depend on the family, not that he was adopted from, but the family to whom he was adopted. Those will be considered his bloodline heirs.
He wasn't adopted legally, though. In fact, he found that out when he went to get a Social Security card, and he was brokenhearted that his real name was that family.
Yeah, don't you don't have to say his real name. But so the short version is, if he wasn't legally adopted, then the bloodline, the birth family's rights would still be intact. So that's another interesting twist to this question, Amy. But I think what they need to do is get with a qualified estate planning attorney, take a look at his death certificate, and see who the heirs at law are. Those would be your priority beneficiaries and theoretically your priority personal representatives under the statute. Was he married?
Yeah.
Had he remarried, Amy?
Oh, no, never had kids or anything either.
Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting case, but yeah, Amy, if you want our help, I'll give out the office line before the end of the show, and we'll be happy to sit down with you and give you that review. Okay.
Oh, I think I got that. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Amy. Have a great day. Okay.
All right. You too.
All right. 877-943-9673. Amy hanging up does open up a phone line. So give us a call now if you want to talk to us about any legal topic at all, or our top 10 list of things that you can do to help your family when you pass away. 877-943-9673. Open studio line with Amy hanging up. Give us a call. We'll be happy to get you in the queue. 877-943-9673. And we've actually done 2. All right. And number 2 on the list. Peter, the intern, any guesses?
Get a full trust done.
Get an estate plan done. Yeah, number 2 on the list. Get your estate planning put in place. Like I said, I was talking with a local pastor here just yesterday, and he was saying, he tells all his congregation how important it is just to get your estate planning done. Be a good steward of what you've been blessed with. Make sure you set it up so that your family can receive everything most efficiently. As Peter, the intern, pointed out, a lot of families, that's because of, setting up a trust is the most optimal model, not with every family, but that's why we offer the complimentary consultation. In the privacy of the office, we can assess what your family's needs and obligations are. And yeah, our fees are what they are. It still comes up periodically. People say, your will's only $75. That's true. That is our fee to do a will, and our trust package is $695. And people ask me all the time, why are the fees so low? The fees, I think, are indicative of my desire to help people and to make sure that people have access to estate planning affordably, good quality estate planning that's efficient and optimized for their family. And like I said, just affordable, so that families who need good quality estate planning can have access to good quality estate planning. So if you want to talk to us today, 877-943-9673. And before we go to number one on the list, let's go to a very patient Northport, and let's talk to Dennis. Dennis, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. How can we help you?
Well, basically, just what you touched on, the estate planning.
Yes, sir.
About my father-in-law. He's a very young, 68-year-old, still very active, but he's just, my wife, is in charge of everything. She's beneficiary of everything. But, he's had his will set in place. But he has multiple properties, tons of, just things he's collected from traveling all over. And I'm just wondering what we could do to help. Because she's thinking he's got everything wrapped up. He's got, a lawyer in place. He's got this and that. But when it actually comes to that time, what's the best thing as far as the estate planning, is that, how to get rid of all of this stuff that we do not want, or, he's got multiple vehicles, multiple boats, different properties. So how does that all work? Or do you think when he's made his will out, do you think that's all included, or do we have to maybe hire an additional attorney, or how does that work?
So it sounds like he needs to listen to number 8 on the list, which was kind of declutter. He may be wanting to just sort of get rid of some things now in anticipation of his passing. But although you mentioned he's pretty young, so I'm not sure that he's going to start doing that today. I think, you have to tread carefully here. And I think the easy way to approach this, Dennis, do you and your wife have your estate planning complete?
We don't, we're still pretty young. So, basically only our vehicles in the house, and we've got a trust set up for our son.
So what I would do is, if it's been more than 3 years since you've seen your attorney, go and see your attorney, have a review, just to have everything reviewed. And you'll see why I'm bringing that up there in a minute. But I think that's going to be a natural pivot point to approach your father-in-law and say, look, hey, by the way, we recently just went and got our estate planning reviewed and updated. And that's less nosy than just calling him up and saying, hey, do you have everything in place? Now you've given him the opportunity, sort of created the safe space for him to respond with, you know what, I need to take a look at that. It's been a beat. I'm glad you said something. So as opposed to the direct approach, sort of the indirect approach, and just give him the room to realize he needs to do that. And because sometimes when you approach family about this and say, hey, you need to go get this done, they're like, I do need to make some changes. And they wind up maybe writing you out because you're the one who's being obnoxious and nosy. So you don't want it to come off that way, even though that's not at all your intent, Dennis. But I think that's the way I would do that. Go see your attorney, have a review, get it updated, and then present that fact to your father-in-law, and then maybe encourage him. But more than likely, he'll bring it up and say something to the effect of, that reminds me, I need to have mine reviewed, and then sort of go from there.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate that. And he'll probably live to be 110, no telling, hopefully. I'm just thinking of how, with my wife, because, she's just going to be emotional, and just something I could do to be, helpful. And that sounds like a great start. So we'll definitely do that and follow up with that, and then just kind of bring that up easy. And so he acts like we're not trying to get something out of him or being nosy in his business. So I appreciate it.
Dennis, the thing that comes glaring through this call is how much you love your wife. The fact that you're taking the time to do this sort of planning to be able to be there and comfort her. So just know that that's what shines in this call. So we all appreciate someone like you in the world, Dennis, who takes such an extra effort to love their wife, the way they deserve to be loved, by making sure that they're going to be protected as much as possible when they go through the loss of a father, which is going to be, extremely traumatic. So Dennis, good job.
All right. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Too. Bye-bye. All right, you listen to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's show. Give us a call now, and Dennis does open up a line. So 877-943-9673. Before we go to our next caller, number 1 on the list of the top 10 things that you can do to help your loved ones after you've passed. Number 2 was plan your estate. So number 1, review and update your estate planning documents periodically. I think this is so important. And it's so important because it allows you to keep abreast of the laws, the family changes, the finance changes. But here's the other one we commonly come across: When people come in for their reviews, they say, oh, I couldn't find this document. They've lost a document and it needs to be replaced. And it could be an important document, like they've lost their original will or they've lost their original trust or something of that nature. Well, the good news is because we had a periodic review and we caught it, we had a chance to fix that. If they've passed away and the family comes in, there's a way to fix it potentially, but it's more complicated and often more expensive. So those periodic reviews do a lot to maintain optimization. They fix mistakes like lost documents. They keep you current for changes in the law, changes in the family, changes in your finance. So number one on our list of the top 10 things you can do to help your family with your passing, periodically review and update your estate planning documents. I tell my clients every 3 years, but I also tell them the caveat of you don't have to wait 3 years. If something changes in the family sooner, call me. I'd rather you call me and us not need to do anything and we just check to make sure than not call me and something go unaddressed. So speaking of calling me, if you want to reach out to the office during the week, that office line again, for those of you just tuning into the show, to schedule your complimentary consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, in the Sarasota, Sun City Center, Clearwater, any of our office locations. That office line, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. Again, that's the toll-free number to schedule your complimentary consultation. All right, we're going to have to rapid fire through a few calls here. All right, let's go to North Tampa and talk to Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Counselor. Hope all's well. How you doing?
You're 2 for 2, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I'll try and put a stop to that.
No, you don't need to put a stop to it. Chris, what's going on? How
I
can we
know.
help?
I don't want to hear me calling too much, so I like to hear other people. So
and that
variety's nice.
Listen,
I did.
Chris, that whole thing of not wanting to hear yourself talk means you're going to never have a future in radio.
Well, I think that's a given by now. I'm pretty old, so.
Chris, how can we help you today, buddy?
I spoke to you last week, speaking of, about a car accident I had, probably about $5,000 worth of damage.
Mm-hmm.
I think I misphrased my question, though. I think I just wanted to know two things. Is a judge going to discriminate against me in court if there was no police report? And number two would be, my wife was a passenger. Is her testimony admissible in small claims court?
So the short answer, the first one is I don't know. That would require me climbing inside the mind of the judge to prognosticate what their opinion is going to be. I wouldn't even pretend I would want to do that. Number two, I think it's a better question for a personal injury attorney. And if you want to speak to Jared Bailey or another personal injury attorney, I'm happy to put you in touch with one. Just give me a call at the office next week and I'll put you in touch with them. And they can tell you what that wife's testimony what role that wife's testimony will play, if any.
Okay, and just another, this sounds like a dumb question, but if I wanted to come in and set up an estate, and all I have is a child, one child, what exactly is that a trust, or what would I set up? How much would that cost?
So there's a few more questions that would go into it, and that's what the consultation's for. But if it is just the will, and it's going to your one child, it's $75. If you do wind up doing a trust to avoid any sort of probate or guardianship proceedings, the trust package fee is $695, and that covers the trust, pour over will, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, and the deed for your homestead.
Okay, so are they the only two options, a will or a trust?
There are a few other options, but they're more advanced plans, Chris, and we typically don't begin that conversation until the estate has a gross value of north of $12 million. So, I mean, we can discuss those things, and if you want to discuss those things, but it's a pretty rare conversation nowadays.
Okay, I'm certainly not in that neighborhood. So, all right, well, thank you very much.
Chris,
Patrick,
enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye. 877-943-9673. Chris hanging up does open up a line, so give us a call now. 877-943-9673. Next, we're going to go to Florida and talk to Robin. Robin, welcome to the
Hi.
Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Are you driving across the state, so you're not in any one particular spot right now?
I am driving, yes.
All right. How can we help Robin today?
Well, I've been married. This is my second husband, his second marriage. We've been married for 20 years. He has a child from the previous marriage, and we have 2 children together. We entered the relationship with the same amount of assets, but we've built since we've been married. So when we discuss estate planning, he feels like everything should be divided in 3. And I think that my half should just go to my 2 children. So I want to divide it by 5. So we're at a roadblock.
Did you guys do a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement?
No.
So, and I'm guessing you own most of the assets jointly?
Yes, everything is jointly.
Yeah. And do you guys currently have an estate planning attorney?
No.
All right. So the short version is the last one of you to die is going to win this argument.
Well, I do know that. So that's what I've been betting so far.
Well, and statistically speaking, based on my experience, the husband's usually the first to go, and not always. But I would say, it's a matter of, this is something we call the order of death risk. So if one dies and then the other, in this case, he wants it to all 3, you want it to just your 2, and the last one to die is going to win. And I think that there's.
No, I don't want it to be just to my 2. I want his daughter to get her portion. Do you see what I'm saying? I just feel like if we split it 50-50, his 50% should be 3 by 3, and mine should be by 2.
Well, I mean, and that's right. So, I mean, it's going to be troublesome for the 2 of you until you come to some sort of agreement. And I would just, to have an honest conversation with him saying, hey, look, we need to discuss this. We need to go over how this is going to go. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of times it's just, it's not always, but a lot of times the husband is just sort of acquiesce to whatever the wife wants because of that reality that they usually pass first. But that's not always the case.
Okay. So what would happen if we died in a car accident tomorrow together?
Well, we'd be sad.
Right.
So
how would it get split up between the 3 of them?
And like I said, it comes down to the order of death risk. So it depends on, there's in Florida, we have something called the Simultaneous Death Act, where if there's no evidence, then, presumptively half goes to his heir. No evidence that one died before the other, then half goes to his heirs and half goes to your heirs. But if there's some evidence that one died, so in other words, you died at the scene.
The same thing.
You died at the scene, and he died 30 seconds later in the ambulance ride on the way to the hospital. Technically, he was the last to die. So that could be some evidence. So it's all going to come down intensely specific to those facts and circumstances surrounding the death. So it's hard to answer that one. But the nice thing is you and husband have an opportunity to remove all this risk by proper drafting, and you can get around that by crafting a good estate plan.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much.
Robin, great call. Appreciate it. Drive safely out there. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673. Quickly, we're going to jump to Tampa, talk to Ray. Ray, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Hey, Ray.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Ray, turn your radio down for me if you don't mind, please.
All right. Give me 1 second.
Hey, Ray, turn your radio down for me if you don't mind, please.
Okay.
All right, Ray. How can we help you today?
Back in I think it was 2004, I had made a loan, a personal loan from a finance company. And apparently, after I lost my job, I couldn't make no more payments. And what they've done, they have accumulated, putting more money on the account because I couldn't pay. Is that legal?
I don't know. It's going to depend on the contract that you entered into for the loan. Do you still have, I know it's 19 years ago, Ray, do you still have a copy of the loan paperwork that you entered into?
Yes.
Give me a call with it and get it to me at the office. I'll take a look at it with you and tell you whether or not what they did was within the terms of the contract. That's not a problem.
No. Okay. Because basically now there's like over $14,000.
Yeah, you got the interest that's accumulated, it sounds like. But Ray, we'll get to the bottom of it with you. Just call me at the office. I'll give it out here before the end of the show, and the staff will tell you how to get me a copy of the paperwork, and we'll take a look at it with you, okay?
Okay.
All right, Ray, you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks for listening to the show.
You too. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. All righty. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number if you want to be part of the show. To reach us at the law office during the week. Again, that toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. And that music can mean one thing and one thing only. Gators football is back. And so with that, the Gators take on Utah at Utah this Thursday evening. And my prediction for this week, I think it's going to be a win. And I'm going to be super optimistic this season. I'm going to come out and say the Gators 70, Utah 3. I think the Gators come out and have a big statement win in their opener on the road. Big win for Billy Napier. So I'm going to go Gators 70, Utah 3. So that's my prediction. And we'll see how accurate it is. And, of course, college football officially starts this weekend. And it's going to be interesting to see some of those games. But, of course, I think it culminates next weekend. The big game is that LSU-FSU game. And everyone's going to be tuning into that, especially since it's Sunday night. And, Yumiko, you can bring the music down, please. Thank you. So it's going to be an interesting game. LSU, FSU as well. Sunday night, it'll be Labor Day weekend. So a lot of people off on Monday watching that game as well. So maybe I'll do a prediction for that game next weekend show as well. So, but my Gators prediction again, Gators 70 and Utah 3. I think it's, you're laughing, but listen, I mean, would you rather err on that side, or would you rather err on, you say 21-20 and then they blow them out? Like, which side do you want to be on there? So do you have a different prediction, Peter, in the intern?
42-10 Gators.
42-10. All right, we'll see. So, all right, this is the number for next week's show, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And again, your toll-free number to reach me, local Central Florida attorney Patrick Smith at the law office during the week. That number, 877-754-6764. I'll say it one more time. 877-754-6764. You can call that number Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And the staff there, friendly staff there, will be happy to get you on my calendar for your complimentary estate planning consultation. You can also email me directly throughout the week, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, and check out our website with tons of information about the office locations, my bio, and podcast of former radio shows. So you can go back and check them out and listen on demand there. All that available at attorneypatricksmith.com. Everyone stay safe, God bless, and of course, go Gators.
The preceding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa, W271CY Lakeland, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
Bill Bunkley here. Attention all pastors. I'm inviting you to attend our 20th annual Faith Talk Pastors Appreciation Day and Ministry Expo on Wednesday, October the 25th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's right. This year, we'll be celebrating 20 years of honoring you, Pastor. Admission is free.